Paige Bueckers dropped 40, and UConn is 40 minutes away from Tampa. But even without JuJu Watkins, there's no room to exhale. Tonight, foot stays on gas. All right, welcome to the Hoops Cap Pod with your host, Mark Zanetto. We bring in Bella Tamano from location on the West Coast in Spokane, Washington. First question for you. You were there. Did you get scared a little bit when they got down 8-0 and it looked like Oklahoma, played with their hair on fire and UConn couldn't make a bucket?
Yeah, I was nervous, Mark, for sure. I was broadcasting it alongside my friend, and we both were kind of just like looking at each other when it was like 2 minutes, still no points, and Oklahoma was figuring things out and making some buckets. We were nervous, even at the half. We're down 36 to 32. I think the one thing was shots going in isn't really controllable. Like, you can't control if your shot goes in or not. So that's the scary part. We were playing a pretty good game. I think we were out playing Oklahoma, but I was like, if we can't shoot, that's something that either goes in or doesn't. So I think it was definitely nerve-wracking.
That's wild. Yeah. So full disclosure, I worked a lot in the morning, and I think I told you guys this, or I think I told people this. I essentially worked all morning, and because my family's kind of out of town this weekend, I'm solo. I went and played like 9 holes of golf, and so I started at like 4:30. So I was almost done by the time the game started. So I'm literally on the 8th hole, and I have my phone with the game in my cart, and I'm literally MFing, saying shit, all this stuff, like while I'm on the golf course. Like, there was no one there, so luckily no one was like looking at me like, who is this idiot? But it just made me laugh because I'm like literally screaming at my stupid phone. And it had nothing to do with how bad I was playing golf. It had to do with the women starting off 8-0. But you know what? In typical fashion, they obviously came back. I think what's funny this year is it's been a tale of like 2 seasons, right? Because plenty of times this year where they've started off that way in like bigger games, and they lost those games. Like like 2 or 3 times that happened, they had those issues. So I think because everyone's healthy, because they have more options now, we've kind of like gone past that. Even if they start slow, that we should be nervous. I think it's just innately who we are as UConn fans.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone was kind of making jokes. Oh, they're second half team, just because of like the UConn men the past couple years. And hey, listen, it worked out for the men the last couple of years. So if it's the case for the women, it's the case for the women. And again, it's not about we don't have to kill teams. I think everyone has come to that conclusion that, like, we're in the Big East. Every game that we play seems to just be a walkover game. But I think they have to recognize the opponent at hand, isn't as good as, I don't want to take anything away from Creighton, but they were the second best team in the Big East, and we still were able to take care of them handily. So these are better opponents. You know what I'm saying? Like Oklahoma, I think was honestly, I think people they were a little bit slept on as they were. Like they scored a lot of points. I thought it was going to be pretty close, especially in the beginning, and it was. But they took care of them, and at the end of the day, they won the game. And again, it was in pretty solid fashion considering how good of an Oklahoma team it was.
Yeah, no, I was impressed initially with Oklahoma. I have to say, I echo Rebecca Lobo's sentiments. Like, it's like at least half the time in that game, they just like randomly throw the ball away. And that was like such a weird, that for a team that's so well coached and a team that played in a really tough conference, like you just don't see that. Like, even when you play against teams that are lesser, it's usually like forced. In these were just kind of like mental lapses. But anyway, like that's a commentary that I thought. But I'll tell you what, Paige Bueckers was like, what was your reaction on the call to her just kind of essentially going GOAT mode and just like dominating? I mean, she gave a lot of credit to the screeners in the screen game, but tell you what, man, she was so good. And what did you make of Geno's comments after the game that, this, because it's her last year, she kind of probably has that sense of urgency?
I just think that you can just tell she is so in the moment, so locked in. She's not thinking about the future and things like that. In the locker room, even, I asked her a couple questions. People asked her some questions. Somebody asked her, what is she thinking about things about the WNBA? And she literally said to him, and I quote, "Bro, I'm not even thinking about that right now." And that's what it is. That's what I think Geno recognizes it. Everybody knows, everybody feels that energy. That it could be her last, and I think that's helping her be more aggressive because she recognizes that, listen, like, there is no tomorrow, there is no next week. It is right now, it is in the moment. And then I just want to go back to your point about the turnovers, the silly turnovers for Oklahoma. I think that a lot of that was attributed to maybe not in that specific moment it was happening, but UConn's defense speeds teams up to the point where it's almost like a seeing ghost thing. They're like, if somebody's not on me now, they're going to be on me in a second. So I got to get this ball out of my hands. And then it kind of led to a lot of just bad passes, bad turnovers. Circling back to the Page stuff, yeah, like you said, I love the aggressiveness. Me on the call, it was just simply like, was there ever a doubt? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of people in the country, people were always saying, oh, they were comparing whether it was Hidalgo and Page. They're like, oh, Hidalgo's going to show up in the tournament. Page hasn't showed up this year. Look what happened. Hidalgo's gone. Page is here to stay, and in dominant fashion. I love the aggressiveness, and that's the thing. It's just we're not shocked by it, I think, at least for me, right? Yes, 40 points. You're like, wow, like that's a great stat, but it's kind of like, it's just what she does. You know what I'm saying? Like we trust her. And I think earlier in the year, I was talking about, I don't know if I trust her to make a big shot. I think she's found some sort of confidence. And that's kind of what she's rolling on, is just playing, staying present, staying in the moment, being confident, right? If the first one doesn't go in, the next one will.
I totally agree. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to ask Bella what she thinks, in her opinion. She watched the USC Kansas State game in person. What does USC have to do to make this a ball game and potentially upset the Huskies? We'll be right back. All right, you're back on the Hoops Cat Pod on the Big East Energy Network. Wanted to ask you this because when you're at a game, as I've done a bunch this year, it's a little different to kind of like when you stay for the next one. What did you see from that second game? Do you think USC has a chance? And give me like a percentage wise, like if you think that they have a chance, is it 10%? Is it 20%? Zero? Like what or more? You tell me.
In my opinion, I give them a 35% chance to win this game. I
Okay.
think that if you would ask me pre South Carolina, before UConn played South Carolina, I would, and pending, even without JuJu, even at that point, if you take that UConn team, they were not playing as good as they are now. They are playing their best basketball, and USC just lost one of the best players in the country. Realistically, I think that percentage could even be lower, but me, I'm a little superstitious. I don't want to write anybody totally off. So I think 35% is definitely a good margin. Mark, what are you kind of feeling percentage wise?
Yeah, I was going to cheat a little bit here and just see what that the ESPN kind of BPI, even though it's not really a like a legit stat, but I wanted to see how close you were in your prediction before I gave mine. You're pretty close. They give USC almost a 30% chance. So 27.7 is according to ESPN Analytics, if you go to their site. I actually think it's about a 90% chance because we're talking about winning, not just covering the spread. I think there's a 75% chance that UConn wins this game by more than 14.5 points. So much so that we talked about it pre-game that there is money that is being staked with that
Yes.
by me because I know it sounds so silly. We have Paige Bueckers, they don't, but it's more than that. Like Sarah Strong played in her, and I know I'm skipping ahead here, but in her estimation, by her standards, not a good ball game. I didn't think AZ Fudd played great. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you add those people as well shooting the ball, well, Paige Bueckers doesn't score 40, but maybe she has 30. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so she needed to score 40 because everyone else was kind of ineffective offensively from that perspective. So I don't know. Like if USC, if Kiki Auriemma has the game of her life and they get some contributions that were like people that you wouldn't expect to step up for the lack of production that you're losing without JuJu Watkins. There's a chance they cover that spread. I don't think there's a chance they can win.
No, I think that's fair. To answer the other kind of part of your question about just being in the arena, being in the stadium, the vibes of the game. In my opinion, I think Kansas State handed USC the game. There was points in the fourth quarter where Kansas State easily could have broken away. A missed free throw here and there that just kind of gave some momentum back to USC. I felt like USC didn't even play really a clean fourth quarter, really a clean second half or a clean game as it is. I just felt like Kansas State threw the ball away and had costly turnovers in very important moments of that game. And I think that kind of just stems from USC's veteran kind of abilities. They were there last year. This is their second straight Elite Eight. Even without JuJu, they still have some players that are no stranger to these kinds of moments. I just think that again, UConn's not Kansas State. You know what I'm saying? UConn,
Absolutely.
they have, had a lot of really bad mental and physical lapses this season. But we talked about it in the first segment. It's just this team is different. At the beginning of the season, Paige was not scoring 40 points. As good as she played, I'd give her like 25. Even let's be honest, 40 is her career high. You know what I'm saying? So that alone shows that in her 5 years on this team, last game was her best game of all time.
Yeah, even if you look at the game in Hartford, way back, was that in December? Yeah, December 21st.
Yep.
If you look at the box score, and I remember the games I did a live reaction show after it. Sarah had a really great game. She didn't shoot the ball particularly well from 3-point range. She was 1 of 6, but she had 22 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and a block. And now if you look at everybody else, Paige she had an average game for Paige. She played 36 minutes. She had 22 points on 22 shots.
Yeah.
That's not Paige. That's very high volume, 2 of 8 from 3. She missed 2 free throws. Didn't have too many assists, only had 2 assists. And if you're going to talk about it, the AZ Fudd only played 8 minutes and she missed all 4 of her shots. So you add AZ Fudd, who's a top 10 WNBA talent. Then you have Ashlyn Shade coming off the bench. Caitlin Chen is more back to kind of a steady point presence. Jenna Elfie's playing better, although I'd love to see her keep the ball up here. How many times have I screamed that into my television or my phone this year watching them play?
No need to put the ball in the ground. unless you're Reagan Beers or Lauren Betts.
Yeah, no, I get it. But you're 6'5". Like the thing that and people that are in love with fundamentals are like jumping up and down with their pom-poms right now, because the reality is, if I'm 6'5", even in the men's game, if I'm a power forward and I put my arms up like this and someone tries to go get it, they hit your arms and they call fouls.
Right.
When you put it down here, you lose all of your advantage. So that's just a basic thing that she's got to continue to work on. And that's my only complaint with Jana. I'd love to see her make layups, obviously, but listen, can't have everything. Can't have Paige scoring 40 and everyone else having a great game too. So I think my biggest thing about this game is there's not enough firepower for USC. Ryan Marshall's a good player. Talia von Oelhoffen is decent. She's going to have to really step her game up. Kaylee Heckel I think she's the freshman that they're really high on. That's likely going to get more minutes tonight because of JuJu's absence. But she's a freshman from New York, really quick, can shoot it a little bit. I'm not super concerned. Let's just put it that way. She's 5'9". I think KK Arnold can lock her up and be the game changer that she is. And by the way, KK Arnold did exactly what I said she was going to do on the last show. It's like she was great. She continues to impress, and I think they're 40 minutes away from sending you to Tampa Bay.
I want to give a shout out to you talking about KK Arnold. I want to give a shout out to Ashlyn Shade off the bench. Another great performance. 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, all over the floor. And it was just, and they were hard, gritty rebounds. She was chasing down long rebounds, fighting, grabbing jump balls, things like that. And I think, KK starts that spark, but somebody like Ashlyn follows it. And I think next year they are going to be incredible. Like they're going to be that 1-2 punch defensively that is just going to create havoc for opposing offenses. But yeah, go to USC, talking about them, it's just I agree with you. I think there's just not enough on their bench right now that is that's enough to beat UConn. And that's okay. And even with JuJu Watkins, I think I would still say that UConn's gonna win. I think that spread would honestly be somewhere in that like 5.5, four and
Yeah.
a half, for sure. But I feel confident about today's game. I feel confident with or without Juju. And I think that says a lot about this UConn squad to say that even going against one of the best players and one of the best teams in the country, at full strength, I think I'd beat them. So at 65% strength, I think we take care of them easy.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, will Sarah Strong have a bounce back game? And we'll talk about X factors tonight and get some predictions from Beltamano on location in Spokane coming up after the break. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn with Beltamano and Mark Zanetto here at the Hoops Cat Pod, Big East Energy Network. Okay, Sarah Strong, we've come to almost expect too much from her. Geno had a really good comment about Paige about, she had 40 last night, so now people are going to expect her to have 50. I'm not expecting her to have 50. I think he says that in platitudes. I think most people expect Paige to have a very highly efficient game. And when she does have a 40-point game, it's like, oh, she could do that pretty much whenever she wants to. Not true. She can be assertive. But with Sarah, you almost scratch your head when she doesn't make all her shots. Like she was shot 80% the game before, and then she comes out and she missed her first 6 shots.
Yep.
And then made a layup or a jumper, and she was like 1 of 7. So, she didn't have a bad game, but she didn't have the game that we're accustomed to. Do you think she bounces back tonight?
I do think she bounces back tonight. And again, I think if Paige and AZ can hold down the fort, coupled with that like little Ashlyn Shade, smaller performance, same thing with Caitlin Chen. I don't know if she again needs to. But the other thing I want to say is I don't even think I know you're using the term not even bad, but a lesser than normal performance
Yeah.
from her. She still had a double double. She still
Oh
had
yeah. I
11
mean, listen,
rebounds.
I put a bunch of caveats on that. Like it's one of those things where it's like it's nitpicking.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
1,000%.
Um,
I agree with that.
Yeah, the one thing I felt bad for her is I got to interview her as well in the locker room. She was kind of sitting in the corner and she just looked really, really, really sad. And the thing that stood out to me to kind of show that she didn't play a bad game and show that Geno trusts her 1,000% is even through all those missed shots, Geno did not take her out of the game
Nope.
until she made her first one. And that is pure saying, okay, we trust you to shoot the ball. They're not always going to fall, but you know what? We're going to keep you in to just finally get that one under your belt, gain a little bit of confidence, and then put you on the bench so you can decompress, maybe have a little laugh or a little quick talk with your teammates. Not that they're laughing on the bench or things like that, but just talk to maybe Aubrey Griffin for a little bit of motivation. Just I think that says so much because the old Geno or a Geno that maybe a different type of player, he would have had her on a shorter leash and pulled her out. But he gave Sarah the keys and said, "Hey, you're good. Take your time, take your shots. This is your first time in a Sweet 16 game. So, first time in the NCAA tournament as a whole. So, I think that says a lot about her as a player and shows how much Gino, knows that she can accomplish."
I think you're spot on, and I think you are going to have another great time tonight calling games for the 11-time national champion Huskies of UConn. Give me a prediction so we can get you out of here, and we can get this out for a pregame show for everyone that's waiting for this 9:00 Eastern time tip. Mostly probably later because TCU is playing Texas first. But go ahead.
I'm gonna go 80. Now, give me 79 to 61 UConn.
I'm in the same range as you in terms of score, in terms of how much they're going to score. I have a 75-54 victory.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think it could go either way. You know what I'm saying? Like if people are hot. But yeah, I think we both can agree on the fact that hey, this one should be like you said, 40 minutes to Tampa. So I think we'll see some UConn Elite Eight, Spokane Region 4 championship hats at the end of tonight's late game.
Yeah. I'm going to take one quick second here. If people are watching the show all the way through, hopefully you are. Our Hoops Cap Pod and under the Big East Energy Network, like and subscribe. I'm making this very easy for everybody. All you have to do is go to Big East Energy, the YouTube channel. You can also go to BigEastEnergy.com, and there's all kinds of cool merch that is our logo in the Hoops Cap Pod. And there's also, if you're a Big East fan, we're adding new shows all the time. Like we just added a men's Creighton show called Roll Jays. We have the Big East Energy Weekly show that we're doing. That's on the men's side. I'm potentially Bella will help me with a women's Big East Weekly show as we get going, or maybe it could be hers by herself. We'll see. But there's all kinds of new stuff that we're going to keep rolling out, and you can also subscribe to our Substack at the Hoops Capital of the World, and that's it. Really, we're just trying to give you guys the best content there is out there for UConn and other teams as well. You got any parting words for us before we leave?
No, just as always, go Huskies, and I think this is the year. I think we're gonna add 12th-time national champ. Hopefully, knock on wood, to the little logo on the bottom there. So
Love it.
crossed.
Love it. I mean, it's a pretty easy switch, so let's do it.
Fair.
All right, Bella, have fun tonight. Go Huskies.